Hello, welcome to Season 5 How to Play D&D, the explainer podcast with one experienced dungeon master and one failed scriptwriter to discuss D&D topics. My name is Kinsey and my illustrious guest this week is Sam Pay. Sam Pay.
Hello.
Hello.
The young man
you.
Sturge back himself in the
He's
space.
He's
here again.
This season we are doing something slightly different. Our guests have selected an enemy from a list that I've supplied, and they're going to educate us as to why we should use these creatures, and of course I will interrogate. The last time we were on this podcast, you didn't need to encourage me to use these creatures because I pretty much then told you everything that seemed like the same kind of creature, from Lion King to I can't already remember. But I basically fell in love whilst talking about them. So I did a bad job. I'm sorry.
Who you can't help but fall in love with kobolds. You can't help. It just happens.
What enemy from the list have you picked this week?
Today we are going to be going over one of the few plant monsters in D&D, the Shambling Mound.
Let's get to it. Okay, so today's episode is on Shambling Mounds. Shambling Mounds, the visual representation of hay fever, except it doesn't just make your eyes swell up, it also makes your arse bleed if given half the chance.
Whoa, you need to be taking some Benadryl for that, my guy. Yeah. Holy smokes.
Hey, if your arse is bleeding, there's no drilling happening. That's what I'm saying.
Whoa, yeah, no, too true.
Yeah, too true. Nothing can cure that. Move, country. Different plant.
Get out of here.
Right. Sam, I've struggled to recreate the human centipede using Barbie dolls and chewing gum. Is there a correct method? What am I doing?
Blimey. Okay. Different kind of doll.
Okay, yeah. All right, well.
We'll not elaborate further.
Spice of life, yeah.
Spice of life.
Maybe a Bratz doll this next week. Polly Pocket.
That's exactly what I meant.
yeah. Okay. Right. To the real questions. Why did you pick Shambling Mounds?
I picked Shambling Mounds. They're a good mid-tier monster. Sitting around CR5. And you do not see a lot of Shambling Mounds in a lot of sessions. I've played a lot of one-shots. I've DM'd a lot. You don't see them around very much. I think it's because they're plants. You very often you'll get your dragons, your aberrations, your monsters. There's 101 things you can be fighting, but I don't think a lot of people look at the potential that a plant has to inflict some really great horror in a D&D session.
Speciest. They're speciest.
Yeah, they just don't like us sweet green boys.
Yeah. The green giant, the sweet corn man himself. They're not
bringing him in, and he's here to devour you whole and absorb all of your lightning.
Oh yeah, all your veggies. Okay, yeah, I totally agree. In the 3 years of playing, I have not had I've had one Shambling Mound, and actually the DM forgot to use it. So I saw they had the miniature. I saw it and I was like, oh, a Shambling Mound. And I thought, all right, okay. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'll start doing abilities that can take this down easy. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to play it as I don't know. And then I just saw the miniature never get used and then get packed up and we left.
That's so sad. I mean, because it's a gorgeous mini as well. If I can just, again, not to be like, I've literally got a crowd of minis right here. Look at this sweet boy. He's got like a lovely grasping tentacle. He's got little mushrooms on his head. Wonderful, gorgeous mini. Fantastic design there. Great monster to have in an adventure, for sure. And very underutilized. My goodness.
I think now seeing that miniature, I think the one I saw was actually just a bit of broccoli and he just forgot to put it in the bin. Okay, so yeah, I get that. Shambling Mounds is a good pick because people forget to use it, but it can do some stuff. What kind of stats does a Shambling Mound have?
They're pretty beefy. Again, we mentioned briefly earlier that we're looking at a CR5 monster here, and in terms of hit points, we're pushing 130 with a 15 AC. So these guys are pretty chunky. This is not a monster that you're going to be able to take out straight away, and it's going to be deadly for low-level parties, especially with some of the attacks and abilities that it has. It's a
Mm.
lot of fun. So it's probably not. Don't get me wrong. It might be the servant or like underling of a very high level monster or villain.
Yeah.
But I think in its own right, it could be like a monster of the week. Oh, there's a shambling mound taking over or attacking a town. And
Yeah.
with a couple of the things that they've got involved in their lore and backstory, they can actually be a recurring villain, which is a lot of fun.
Mm. I think at higher levels, they can be your new goblin. If you're in a forest,
Yeah.
there's no point dropping goblins in, but you're in a
No.
forest, and that forest can be a bunch of shambling mounds amongst some trees. Do you know what I mean? And
It
that can be
tracks.
a group thing at later levels.
100%. Yes. So they've
Yeah.
got they've got a good bit of use. I wouldn't use them for a party around level 1 to 3.
No,
Maybe at
I'm thinking like
maybe level 3 you could throw them in there,
right.
but
I was
no.
thinking like level 10, you could have a couple of these just
Yeah.
as a random encounter rather than level 3 just smash out some shambling mounds.
Yeah, that would be like a solo one-on-one against a
Yeah,
shambling mound right there. You'd struggle with more than one of those guys with the party level 3 for sure.
100%. How does a DM use a shambling mound in their game?
So, lots of really cool stuff to unpack with Shambling Mounds. The first thing that I'm literally looking at here in the monster manual is this idea that they are a resurgent menace, is the thing that's
Mm,
bam right in the book. So, this is this idea that if you don't destroy the whole Shambling Mound, it will come back. It will grow back. It's this relentless, omnipresent threat.
mm,
Like we were talking about with kobolds, if you're in those mid tiers of play and a shambling mound is the villain of your story, or even like a really powerful mini boss to like, I don't know,
mm.
some spores druid or a myconid lich or something like that, you can have this thing keep showing up throughout and be a recurring villain really easily. Because the only
Mm.
note here that it specifies is that the root stem needs to be destroyed for it to be
Yeah.
killed, and you as the DM can decide what that is. And you can even use that as a way to lure your party into a greater, wider dungeon. So they've got fantastic replayability. It does mean you can buy one Shambling Mound mini and just use that again and again, which will
Cost
work
effectiveness is important in
very
as
cost effective. I
DMs.
mean, in a cost of living crisis that we're going through right now, you have to have cost effective
You
villains.
need at least one
Um,
shambling mound during the downfall, but make sure it's only one.
Make sure it's only
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Fantastic recurring villain, but then it's got some really interesting stuff that a lot of plants don't have. And I do have a suggestion of how we could maybe make it a little bit fairer to fight as
Okay.
well.
Yeah, go for it.
So the first thing, in the lore, shambling mounds are created by just imbuing lightning into piles of like fungus and this kind
Oh,
of
okay.
stuff, just like
Right.
kind of vegetation. So a part of that that's worked into their stat block is this lightning absorption ability that they have, where
Mm,
they can drink in lightning and use it to regain hit points. So a
very
really
nice.
fun thing, if you want to really spice up a shambling mound combat, it might be an idea to pair a shambling mound with another monster that does lightning damage. The
Yeah.
first thought that comes to my mind is even like a blue dragon whelpling, something of a
Mm,
similar CR to make a duo combat where you've got this plant monster being healed by a blue dragon.
nice.
Really interesting thing that you can do there. But also because of the kind of nature, well, because of the nature of having a plant monster, that it does lend itself to horror. We see a lot in like films and TV. Like I'm thinking of like Annihilation with the gnarly like fungus wall with the
Mm,
skeleton on. People get scared about living plants quite often. And with its ability to like repair itself, come back in time and time and again, and with this lightning thing, my mind immediately went to what if this was a mini boss before like a Frankenstein style battle?
yeah.
Maybe there's electrodes around that it's
Second
pulling lightning from
stage
the
kind
off.
of,
Yeah, exactly. There's
yeah.
some really, really cool stuff you can play into there with using lightning actually in the battlefield. The only thing that I disagree with this stat block, and I look at and go, this is wrong, is its resistance to fire damage. I'm
Right.
so sorry, but if it's a plant monster, if you're going to make it immune to all these different damages, resistant to all this stuff, give your players a chance. Give it a vulnerability to fire. It's a plant, for God's sake. Like come
Mm.
on, make it burnable.
I think there must be, I think, especially with the new manual, I mean, don't quote me on the exact creature, but there's a lot more kind of undead plant enemies or like,
Oh, we
necrotic
love
kind
it.
of. And I think maybe that's where I mean, I don't know if the stat block that you're looking at is from the old manual or
It
whatnot.
is from the old one,
But
yeah.
yeah, but I don't know if that's updated with the new one because of that. Because what you're reading there makes complete sense if they go, this is resistant to fire, but then there's a necrotic version of this that's actually does take fire damage because of
Mm.
whatever reason, or it makes sense if there's a variety of these things that, and there's a reason why,
Yeah, if they're plants.
but that's also up to the DM, right, to like make that work.
Yes.
So, okay, can you give an example of when you used or encountered one?
Yes. So I recently run just a quick one shot where we had a Shambling Mound as a recurring villain. They're nice and slow. They've got that 20-foot movement speed. So what they can do really neatly is they can like just slide along behind your players. And what I had was I had a group of players in a confined cave in the Underdark, got
Nice.
ambushed by a Shambling Mound that then just kind of almost, as you might expect from like an ooze or something, just starts pushing itself slowly
Yeah.
down the tunnel towards them. And it works really well because in addition to this lightning absorption, they have an engulf ability. So
Mm.
if you put this large mini in a space where the players can't get around it, confine them in a tunnel, they've got stealth so they can hide in there and get in like a little nook or a cranny and then launch out and wrap around a player and engulf them. You can have a really tense moment where the players rip their friend out of this thing's clutches and then have to run the opposite way down the tunnel as this thing slowly comes to envelop and devour them.
Mm.
Really, really a lot of fun. Again, the Shambling Mound lends itself to being a monster that you run away from and
Yeah.
chases.
It's a bit like It Follows. I don't know if any listeners
Yeah.
have watched that, but it's that the whole point of that film is something that is just continuously following,
Yes.
it works very well in that sense. Does the
Very, very
Shambling Mound
well.
have grapple abilities?
I don't believe it has anything. Let me just see here. It's engulfs stuff. So the Shambling Mound engulfs a medium or smaller creature grappled by it. So I believe
Right.
it's got like a. I don't believe it auto grapples on an attack, but it can go and just
Yeah.
grab a dude, and then it does more damage the longer you're kind of held inside
Like
of it.
constricts it kind of thing
Um,
with I feel
Much more of a
honestly I think it's got a
constrictability.
great amount of there's it seems to be a monster that lends itself really well to being homebrewed more than anything,
Yes.
you know.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, last question. What's your least favorite enemy in D&D this week?
Least favorite enemy in D&D
And
this
if
week.
anyone's been watching these, they'll see that we are block shooting these. So
We are block
the fact
shooting
that
them.
Sam has to think of a new enemy every like 10
Every
minutes.
single time, every single time. Let me because my problem is that I love monsters so much.
Mm.
I love them so dearly. A monster that I hate. We've done bandits, we've done planetars. What else don't I like? I need to pick something that's a controversial one.
I'll tell you another one I've got. I've not played
Yeah,
against
hit me with
it, but
it.
I just can't see it being that exciting. Is a unicorn.
I completely disagree. They're
Okay,
one of
all
the
right.
few celestials that actually have something going on.
I just think like
They're
it's there,
good.
and you go that. Oh wow, a unicorn! Everyone knows what it is, even if they've not played D&D. It's in the zeitgeist of the world. Um, but it's kind of like, all right, it's there. What is it offering up? Like, do I want to fight it? No. If a player goes, I want to kill it, everyone's gonna obviously turn around and go, this guy probably needs a CRB check in real life. He's
Yeah,
probably
if
a serial killer if he wants to kill a unicorn. But then on the other side of that, what do you do with it? Like you're not going to want it to go into combat with you. People probably aren't going to want it that
no.
it's some kind of leadership NPC that it gets you somewhere or
And it's a very high CR monster to have as kind of being in charge of something there. So
Hmm.
yeah, like if like you're gonna run into the Gandalf problem with a unicorn real quick, where it's like, oh, we're running into a problem, quick, throw the unicorn at it.
Yeah,
That'll
yeah.
solve the issue that we've got. Um, I was so hoping that I would have thought of something by the time we finished having that chat.
It's all right. It's okay.
I have one.
All right.
It is because I love dragons. I'm a huge dragon fan. There is one dragon that I think is genuinely pointless and stupid. I believe it is the Underdark dragon, or there is like a dark variant dragon.
Okay.
Let me just fact check myself on its name. Deep dragons. Oh
Deep.
my god. Okay, they don't make any sense to me. Don't understand them. Every other okay, so we've got shadow dragons from the Shadowfell, sure. We've got fairy dragons from the Feywild, sure. We've got chromatic, metallic dragons. We've got the gem dragons, who are these special dragon flights that have this long history together. And
Mm.
then we look at the deep dragon. First off, the deep dragon has one, maybe two whole stat blocks dedicated to itself. What's special about it? Well, it's underground.
Brilliant.
All dragons are underground and can be underground. What's special here? They look terrible.
Yeah.
They're ugly.
I'll
Like
have to
they've
look
got
it up
weird
after. I'll have to look it
blind
up.
fish eyes and weird stumpy legs. They're the least elegant, least dragony of the dragons. I hate them
If
so much.
anything, it sounds like the kind of creature where people will not use it well because it's like, does
No.
it fly? They'll probably forget to make it fly in combat. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
It's a difficult fit. Like it almost like a way out. You know, it would be
Literally, the
good to
one place
start
you
a
want to fight
dragon.
a dragon is out in the open where it can swoop around. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
cool. Here's a dragon that you fight exclusively in small spaces. It's like,
yeah,
what?
yeah. Tough one. All right.
It's a tough sell on the deep dragon. Very
Yeah, well,
tough.
do you know what? You've sold me on the Shambling Mound. You have not sold me on the Deep Dragon, and that's exactly how you wanted it. So, with that, today's adventure is sadly coming to a close. We are back again next week with the topic: How do mirrors see themselves? And as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to join in on the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram at HowToPlayD&D or check out the link in our bio to join our Discord server. I've been Connor Kinsey.
How do they see themselves? I've been Sam.
Good day.